The executive floor of Park Corporation was everything Jane expected. Cold, modern, designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul like a conqueror surveying his domain. Expensive art hung on walls the color of money. And at the end of a long corridor lined with assistants who wouldn't meet her eyes, Chairman Park's office waited like the mouth of a dragon. Jane's heels clicked against marble as she walked, each step echoing louder than the last. Minjai stayed close to her right side, his hand occasionally brushing hers in silent support. Her father flanked her left, his jaw set in a way that meant he was ready for war. If you're just joining us now or loving this story so far, do us a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Trust us, you'll want to see how this showdown ends. Now, back to the story. They'd practiced this, rehearsed every word, every gesture, every possible outcome. But now, standing outside Chairman Park's door, Jane felt her courage waver. What if this didn't work? What if she'd miscalculated? Breathe, Minjai whispered. I'm right here. Jane squeezed his hand once, then let go. Whatever happened next, she had to face it standing on her own 2 feet. The door opened. A secretary gestured them inside, and Jane Morrison walked into the lion's den. Chairman Park sat behind a desk that probably cost more than most people's houses, his silver hair perfectly styled, his suit immaculate. He was 73 but looked younger, with sharp eyes that missed nothing and a smile that never reached those eyes. Beside him stood Damien, confident and smug, already acting like Jane was his property. Miss Morrison. Chairman Park's voice was smooth, cultured, hiding the predator beneath. How lovely of you to accept our invitation. Please sit. Jane remained standing. I prefer to stand for this. Suit yourself. I assume you've come to give us your answer regarding the marriage proposal? I have. Excellent. Damien has been very patient. Too patient, perhaps. But all good things come to those who... My answer is no. The words dropped into the room like stones into still water. Chairman Park's smile froze. Damien straightened, his expression darkening. I'm sorry, Chairman Park said, though he didn't sound sorry at all. I don't think I heard you correctly. You heard me perfectly. I'm not marrying Damien. I'm not joining our families. And I'm not allowing you to use me as a pawn in whatever game you're playing. Chairman Park's facade cracked, just slightly. Miss Morrison, I don't think you understand your position. Your father owes my family a considerable debt. $300 million due in... He glanced at his watch. 42 days. Without this marriage, that debt comes due. And I promise you the consequences of default will be... severe. I understand perfectly. Which is why I'm here to pay you back. She placed the envelope on his desk. Chairman Park stared at it like it might explode. What is this? A cashier's check for $300 million, plus interest. Consider your loan repaid in full. The silence that followed was deafening. Damien moved first, snatching up the envelope and tearing it open. His face went white as he pulled out the check, saw the numbers, the bank's official seal. This is... how? He stammered. Jane smiled. Did you really think my mother built her empire without having contingencies? Without hiding assets in places even my father didn't know about? I spent the last 3 days with our attorneys, liquidating investments my mother made decades ago. Swiss accounts, property holdings in Singapore, art collections in Paris, all quietly accumulating value, waiting for an emergency exactly like this one. It was partially true. Her mother had left hidden assets, but not enough to cover $300 million. The rest had come from selling everything Jane owned: her apartment in Lagos, her car collection, her jewelry, her stock portfolio. She'd stripped herself down to nothing to buy her freedom. and it was worth every penny. You sold your mother's legacy, Damien said, voice full of disbelief. For what? For him? He pointed at Minjai with disgust. You gave up billions for a bodyguard? No, Jane said calmly. I gave up things. Money. Assets. None of that was my mother's legacy. Her legacy is me. Her strength, her courage, her refusal to be controlled by men who think power gives them ownership over women. That's what she left me. And that's something you can never take away. Chairman Park's expression had gone cold, all pretense of politeness abandoned. You're making a mistake, Miss Morrison. The only mistake I made was not seeing through you sooner, but that's been corrected. Jane pulled out her phone, tapped a few buttons. Detective Park, you can come in now. The office door opened. Detective Park entered, followed by 2 uniformed officers and a woman in a prosecutor's badge. Chairman Park stood slowly. What is the meaning of this? The meaning, Jane said, is that you're under investigation for conspiracy to commit murder, extortion, and witness intimidation. Detective? Detective Park stepped forward, her expression professional but satisfied. Chairman Park, we have testimony from your former employee, Kim Minjai, detailing how your family hired her to spy on Miss Morrison. We have bank records showing payments from Park Corporation to known criminals. And we have surveillance footage of your son meeting with the men who attacked Miss Morrison in that parking garage. That's absurd, Damien blustered. We have no connection to those men. Actually, you do. The prosecutor spoke now, her voice crisp. One of them turned himself in this morning. In exchange for immunity, he's given us a detailed account of how your father hired him to send a message to Miss Morrison. How the attack was never meant to succeed, just to frighten her into compliance. How you, Damien Park, personally delivered half the payment in cash. Damien's face drained of color. He's lying. They're all lying. You have no proof. We have plenty of proof. Phone records, text messages, financial transactions. And after Miss Morrison came forward with her information, 3 other women did too. Women your family has coerced into marriages over the years using similar tactics. Women who were too afraid to speak up until now. Jane watched satisfaction bloom in Detective Park's expression. This was the part they'd planned carefully. The part where Jane's courage gave others courage. Where one woman's refusal to be a victim became a movement. Chairman Park's carefully controlled mask finally shattered. You stupid girl! Do you have any idea what you've done? My family has connections, power. We own half this city. You think some detective and a few tearful testimonies will bring us down? No, Jane said quietly. I think justice will bring you down. But if that fails, I have something else. She pulled out a flash drive, held it up. This contains every piece of evidence my assistant collected while spying on me. Except she wasn't just watching me. She was watching you too. Your meetings with crime bosses, your money laundering operations, your bribes to city officials. Minjai was very thorough, and very good at hiding cameras in places you'd never think to look. Chairman Park's face went purple with rage. You're bluffing. Am I? Minjai didn't know she was working for both sides until Detective Park flipped her. Turns out when you threaten someone's family to force their cooperation, they're not very loyal when given the chance to escape. Jane handed the flash drive to the prosecutor. There's enough here to put your whole family away for decades. Tax evasion, racketeering, conspiracy. Take your pick. The prosecutor accepted it with barely concealed glee. Thank you, Miss Morrison. This will be very useful. You can't do this, Damien said, but his voice had lost its arrogance. He sounded young now, scared. Our lawyers will be excellent, I'm sure. But this isn't America, Damien. This is Korea. And corruption cases here, especially high-profile ones, tend to move very quickly. especially when there's public pressure. Jane smiled. Which there will be. I'm holding a press conference in 1 hour, telling my story, naming names. By tomorrow, every news outlet in Asia will be covering this. You'll be famous. Just not the way you wanted. Chairman Park lunged around the desk, moving faster than a man his age should, his hand reaching for Jane like he meant to hurt her. But Minjai was faster. He intercepted, his body blocking Jane, his injured chest making him grunt with pain but not stopping him. Touch her and lose the hand, Minjai said, voice deadly calm. The uniformed officers moved in, pulling Chairman Park back. Sir, you need to calm down. This isn't over, Chairman Park snarled at Jane. You think you've won? You have no idea the forces you're playing with. My family will destroy you. We'll take everything you have left. You already tried, Jane interrupted. You sent men to kill me. You shot the man I love. You threatened my father and tried to steal my future, and you failed. Because I'm not some helpless girl you can manipulate. I'm Jane Morrison. And I don't lose. Detective Park produced handcuffs. Chairman Park, you're not under arrest yet, but I strongly suggest you come to the station voluntarily for questioning. Make this easier on everyone. I'm not going anywhere without my lawyers. Then call them. But one way or another, you're answering our questions today. Jane watched as they led Chairman Park toward the door, Damien following numbly, his world crumbling around him. At the threshold, Damien turned back. I would have been good to you, he said, and for the first time Jane heard something almost human in his voice. I know you don't believe that, but I cared about you in my way. This didn't have to end like this. Yes, Jane said, it did. Because your way of caring looks like control. And I deserve better than that. Damien nodded slowly, something like understanding crossing his face. Then he was gone, following his father into whatever came next. The office emptied until only Jane, Minjai, and Elliot remained, standing in the wreckage of the Park family's power. Is it really over? Elliot asked quietly. The criminal case will take time, Jane said. But yes, the debt is paid. The marriage is canceled. We're free. Elliot pulled his daughter into a crushing hug. Your mother would be so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Jane let herself be held, let herself feel the relief and exhaustion and triumph all at once. Then she pulled back, turned to Minjai, who was leaning against the desk, his face pale with pain. You need to get back to the hospital, she said. I'm fine. You're bleeding through your shirt. Minjai looked down, saw the red stain spreading across his white button-down. Oh, that's not ideal. You're an idiot, Jane said, but her voice was soft with affection. A brave, loyal, wonderful idiot who needs to stop pushing himself. I wanted to be here. For this. For you. And you were. And I love you for it. But now we're getting you medical attention before you pass out in Chairman Park's office. That would ruin my dramatic exit. Minjai laughed, then winced. Can't have that. They left the Park Corporation building the same way they came in. Heads high, together, victorious. The press was already gathering outside, cameras flashing, questions being shouted. Jane had a statement prepared, a story to tell that would reshape the narrative from victim to victor. But first, she needed to make sure Minjai was okay. The hospital was becoming too familiar. Jane sat in the emergency room while doctors re-examined Minjai's wound, scolding him for leaving the hospital too soon and reopening stitches. He bore it with good humor, making jokes that made the nurses laugh despite their disapproval. He'll be fine, the doctor finally told Jane. Stubborn, but fine. We'll keep him overnight for observation, but he can go home tomorrow if he promises to actually rest this time. I promise, Minjai called from the examination table. I don't believe him, Jane told the doctor. Neither do I, but we'll do our best. When they were alone, Jane sat beside Minjai's bed, taking his hand carefully. You scared me when Chairman Park came at me and you just moved without thinking. That's my job. No, your job was being my bodyguard. Past tense. You're not working for me anymore, Minjai. The contract is over, which means you don't have to protect me. Is that what you think? That I do this because of a contract? Minjai pulled her closer, his eyes serious. Jane, I would protect you if you were a stranger on the street. I would protect you if you hated me. I would protect you because it's who I am. But more than that, I protect you because you're mine. And I'm yours. Contract or no contract. Jane's eyes burned with tears she refused to shed. I don't want you getting hurt because of me. Too late, I'm already hurt. I'm in love with you, and love is the most dangerous thing I've ever done. But I'd do it again. Every time. Even knowing how this could end? Especially knowing, because whatever happens, whatever comes next, I get to spend it with you. And that's worth any risk. Jane kissed him, soft and sweet, tasting salt and promise. I'm going to hold you to that. Good. Her phone buzzed. Her father texting to say the press conference was ready. They were just waiting for her. Jane sighed. I have to go. Face the cameras. Tell the story. You'll be brilliant. How do you know? Because you always are. Minjai touched her face, gentle despite his calloused hands. Go change the world, Jane Morrison. I'll be here when you get back. Promise? Promise? The press conference was held in a hotel ballroom, packed with journalists from every major outlet in Asia. Jane stood at a podium flanked by her father and Detective Park, camera flashes creating lightning storms around her. She'd changed into a blue power suit, her braids pulled back, her makeup perfect. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who refused to be broken. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice steady despite the nerves. My name is Jane Morrison, and I'm here to tell you about what happened when one of Seoul's most powerful families decided I wasn't allowed to control my own life. For the next 30 minutes, she laid it all out. The arranged marriage, the debt used as leverage, the attack that nearly killed her and put Minjai in the hospital, the surveillance, the threats, the systematic intimidation. She named names, showed evidence, let Detective Park explain the criminal investigation. And most importantly, she gave voice to the other women who'd been victimized by the Park family's tactics, women who now had the courage to come forward because Jane had gone first. I'm sharing this story not for sympathy, Jane said as she concluded, but because silence protects predators, because women deserve to know they have the right to say no, even to powerful men. Even when saying no costs them everything, because I'd rather lose my fortune than lose myself. The questions came rapid fire after that. How did she find the money to pay the debt? What would happen to Morrison Holdings? Was she still in Seoul or returning to Lagos? What about the bodyguard who'd been shot? Was she in a relationship with him? Jane answered what she could, deflected what she couldn't. And throughout it all, she felt a strange sense of peace. This was who her mother had raised her to be. Strong, honest, unafraid. The conference ended with thunderous applause. Jane stepped off the stage into a crowd of reporters still shouting questions, but her father's security team created a path to the exit. Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Jane took a deep breath of cool evening air and felt, for the first time in months, truly free. Her phone rang. Minjai's name flashed across the screen. Hey, she answered. I'm done, heading back now. I'm watching it on the news. You were perfect, terrifying and perfect. Terrifying? In the best way. You looked like someone who could topple governments, which I guess you kind of just did." Jane laughed. "One corrupt family is not a government. Give it time, you're just getting started." His voice softened. "Come back soon. I miss you." "I miss you too. Be there in 20 minutes. She hung up, climbed into her father's car, and let exhaustion finally catch up with her. It was over. Really, truly over. The Park family would face justice. The debt was paid. She was free to make her own choices. Free to love who she wanted. Free to build the life she chose. But as the car pulled into traffic, Jane didn't notice the black sedan that had been parked across the street. Didn't see it slide into the flow of vehicles behind them. Didn't know that while she'd been busy destroying one enemy, another had been watching, waiting, planning. Because the Park family wasn't the only one with secrets, and some debts couldn't be paid with money. Jane returned to the hospital to find Minjai's room in chaos. Nurses rushed past her. Doctors shouted instructions, and Minjai's bed was empty, the sheets pulled back, equipment beeping urgent warnings. "What happened?" Jane grabbed a passing nurse. "Where is he?" "The patient in 304, he collapsed. Internal bleeding. They're taking him to surgery now." Jane didn't wait to hear more. She ran down the hallway, following the sound of urgent voices, her heels slipping on polished floors. She rounded a corner and saw them wheeling Minjai toward the surgical wing, his face gray, his eyes closed. "Wait!" Jane caught up, grabbed the gurney's rail. "Minjai!" His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Jane?" "I'm here. What happened?" "Don't know. Was fine, then pain. Couldn't breathe." His hand found hers, weak but determined. "Sorry. Bad timing." "Miss Morrison, you need to let us take him," a doctor said urgently. "There's a bleed we missed. We need to operate now or he won't." The doctor didn't finish, but Jane understood. "Won't make it. Won't survive. Won't wake up." "No," Jane said fiercely. "You don't get to die, Minjai. Not now. Not after everything. You promised me. You promised you'd be here when I got back." "Trying," he whispered. "Love you." "I love you too. So you fight. You hear me? You fight like I fought. You don't give up." They pulled the gurney away, took him through doors Jane couldn't follow. She stood in that hallway, alone, feeling like her heart had been ripped from her chest and wheeled into surgery along with him. Elliot found her there 10 minutes later, still standing in the same spot, staring at those closed doors. "Jane, sweetheart, come sit down." "He promised," Jane said numbly. "He promised he'd be here." "And he will be. Minjai is strong. He's a fighter." "So was my mother, and she still died." Elliot pulled his daughter into his arms, held her while she finally let herself break. All the strength she'd shown at the press conference, all the courage she'd displayed facing down the Park family, it crumbled now, leaving only fear and love and desperate hope. "Please," Jane whispered to any god who might be listening, "please don't take him from me. Not yet. Not when we just found each other." The gods didn't answer. The surgical lights stayed lit. And Jane Morrison learned that some battles couldn't be won with courage and evidence and dramatic confrontations. Some battles were waged in operating rooms, with scalpels and stitches and sheer stubborn will to survive. All she could do was wait, and hope, and believe that love was sometimes enough. 4 hours later, a surgeon emerged, exhausted but smiling. "He's going to make it," she said, and Jane felt the world start turning again. "It was close. We found a bleeder we'd missed in the first surgery, but we got it. He'll need time to recover, and this time he actually needs to rest. But he'll live." Jane nodded, unable to speak around the tears of relief. "You can see him in a few hours once he's out of recovery. But, Miss Morrison? He kept saying your name, even under anesthesia, even when he was barely conscious. That kind of connection, that kind of love, it's rare. Don't let it go. I won't, Jane promised. Never. She waited those few hours in a chair outside recovery, refusing to leave, refusing to move. Her father brought her coffee she didn't drink. Friends texted messages of support she didn't answer. The world kept spinning, but Jane stayed still, focused on one thing only. The man she loved, fighting his way back to her. Finally, they let her in. Minjai looked terrible, pale, intubated, covered in wires and tubes, but his heart rate was steady on the monitor. His chest rose and fell with borrowed breath, and when she took his hand, his fingers twitched in response. Hey, she whispered, you scared me. Again. We need to stop meeting like this with you unconscious in a hospital bed. No response, but she didn't need one. She just needed him alive. I faced them down today. The Park family. I told the world what they did, what they tried to do. And it felt good, standing there, refusing to be a victim. But you know what I realized? She leaned closer, her voice dropping. None of it would matter if I lost you. The company, the money, my freedom. None of it means anything without you there to share it. She stayed until the nurses made her leave, promising to return first thing in the morning. Elliot drove her home, got her settled in her apartment that felt too empty, too quiet. He'll be okay, her father said at the door. And when he is, we need to have a conversation about his intentions toward my daughter. Jane almost laughed. Daddy, I'm 28 years old. I think I can handle my own romantic life. Probably, but I'm still your father, and he's still the man who almost died twice protecting you. I need to make sure he understands what being with you really means. What does it mean? Elliot smiled, soft with affection. That he's stuck with our entire crazy family. That your mother's relatives in Lagos will want to meet him. That he'll spend holidays being interrogated by uncles who think no one's good enough for you. That being loved by Jane Morrison is a blessing and a burden and a privilege all at once. And if he still wants me after all that, then he's either brave or stupid. Possibly both. Elliot kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's a new day. But sleep didn't come. Jane lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the day. The confrontation. The press conference. Minjai's collapse. It felt like a lifetime packed into 12 hours. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on your victory. But winning one battle doesn't win the war. The Park family was just the beginning. There are others who don't want you in Seoul. Others who benefit from Morrison Holdings failing. Watch your back, Miss Morrison. Not everyone is who they seem. Jane stared at the message, her blood running cold. She took a screenshot, forwarded it to Detective Park, then blocked the number. But the damage was done. The seed of paranoia planted. Who sent it? Another enemy? Someone from the Park family seeking revenge? Or was it a bluff, meant to make her afraid again, to steal the peace she'd just won? Jane got out of bed, walked to her window, looked out at Seoul's nighttime skyline. This city had given her so much. A company to build, challenges to overcome, Minjai to love, but it had also taken from her peace of mind, innocence, the belief that doing the right thing guaranteed safety. I'm not leaving, she said to the city, to whoever might be listening. You threw everything at me and I'm still standing, so bring it on. Bring all your secrets and threats and hidden enemies, because I'm Jane Morrison, and I don't break. The city lights twinkled back, indifferent to her declaration. And somewhere in the darkness, someone was watching, waiting, planning their next move in a game Jane was only beginning to understand. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, she would rest. Tomorrow, she would fight. And through it all, she would love Minjai with everything she had. Because in the end, that was the only victory that really mattered. Thank you for watching. Minjai survived, but who sent that threatening message? What other enemies are lurking in Seoul's shadows? And will Jane ever get the peaceful life she fought so hard to win? Drop a comment and tell us, do you think Jane should stay in Seoul and keep fighting? Or take Minjai and start fresh somewhere safe? Hit that like button if you're ready for more, subscribe to see what happens next, and turn on notifications because episode 4 is coming soon. And trust us, you won't want to miss the twist we've got planned. See you next time.